This message is not going to be for everyone. This is for those people who have realized that they want to do more. They want to provide more value. And they want to spend their time better. I think a lot of us want to do that. And these apps in our phone is holding us back from that. And it's by our choice. It's not only by our choice, it's by design. And knowledge is power, or the potential for power. So I think it's important that we know that us being on our phones 24/7 is by design. That TikTok feed, those Instagram reels, those YouTube shorts, they're made like that by design. They're designed to give you small hits of dopamine. And, every time you swipe, oh my gosh. What? That's crazy. You're getting small hits of dopamine that are short-lived, that took no work to get. And I don't want to say it's like a drug, but it is. It is like a drug. It's reward for no work. And it's addictive. And a lot of us want more from our lives. We want to provide value. And the funny thing about the universe, the way the world works, is that when you provide value, you get those feel-good chemicals. You get those dopamine hits in a different way, in a more fulfilling way, in a more meaningful way. And that's something that I had to figure out, and that I'm still figuring out. And one way I do that is by making these videos. I remember the first video I made and I posted, and that first comment that I got saying that I liked the video. And it was the first time I went out my way. It was a video game video. I was playing video games, which is another thing that's designed to give you reward for little work. You do have to work in the game. Some games, they're replicants of work. You got games like Car Mechanic Simulator or Power Washer Simulator, House Flipper. These are video games that mimic real life activities that would also give you, you'd also feel good when you did those things, right? You'd also get money. You'd also make more connections, right? Life is like a game in and of itself. But it's the first time I went out my way to not just play the game by myself, but to play the game and share it with somebody else. And, people appreciated that. I found out that, wow, sharing really is caring. And that's super cliche, but, sharing takes a little bit of work, but the reward you get on the other side of that is really rewarding, I'm finding. And again, that's one of the things that keeps me making these videos, is your guys' comments, your positive feedback, and I'm so grateful for all you guys. And I'm so glad that I can provide value in a more meaningful way. And I think it's time we take a shift from consuming and we start leaning into creating and producing. And the best way to start is to create the content that you like to watch. I think I was maybe 19 or 20. I was watching video game content, and I said, hey, I think I can do this too. I started my first YouTube channel, posting my gameplay with my friends. And then I made a vlog channel. And I was watching vlogs. I was like, hey, I go outside and do stuff too. Let me, what if I vlogged it and posted it? And a lot of us want to do these things, and sometimes we have self-imposed barriers that hold us back. And that's okay. Anything that is hard to do, anything that is challenging to do, it's worth it. It's worth it, especially when it is going to be fulfilling for you. It's going to provide value for other people. I'm out here in the cold right now. Snow on the ground. Because I want to give you guys a message, and I really want to share a piece of my mind with you guys. So just something to think about when you guys are, when you find yourself scrolling, you find yourself swiping, you find yourself binge watching Netflix or YouTube or anything like that. Make that shift and think about, what if I was on the other side of the camera? All right, what if I could give this gift to somebody else? This gift of entertainment or this gift of knowledge. And I think you're gonna find it very rewarding. I've seen a few people this year start up YouTube channels, and I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of them. And I see them providing so much value. And it's nice. It's really nice to see more people making that shift. I think in 2025, we're gonna see a lot more people making that shift from consumer to producer. And, more and more people are just gonna get tired of that quick dopamine hit that doesn't really mean anything. You swipe through, 30, 40, 50 reels in a day, and when you go to sleep at night, you don't remember any of it. You might have sent 5, 6, 7 memes to your group chat. By the next day, or the next week, you don't remember. Nobody remembers any of them. And it's just these quick, meaningless dopamine hits that are just not cutting it anymore. Remember when I was a kid, I had moved from one parent to the other, and I didn't have any siblings. I was essentially a single child. Is that what they call it? Single child? Only child? Only child. I was the only child for a while, and I remember I had all this time on my hands, and I started creating content. I started writing lessons for my younger brother so I could teach him, how to write and how to spell and things like that. Because, that's what I was doing in school. That's what I was learning, or that's what I had learned when I was in school. I remember, I was writing books and books of these lesson plans, and I was saying when I see them, I can't wait to see them and sit down with them and share some of these lesson plans with them. And then I started writing books, and I had a friend who was good at drawing, and so it was my stepsister actually, she would draw the pictures for my books. And I did a novel, fiction, and then I did some more instructional books. I remember I did everything by hand. I think I made 4 or 5 copies. I was gonna sell them, and I punched holes in the papers. I had it, I created on printer paper, punched holes in it. I used string to to make it a book through the punch holes, and it just felt intuitive. It felt natural to create stuff, and as I got older, I think I kind of lost that a little bit until discovering YouTube, where I realized that I could have a platform where I could share my ideas, I could share my thoughts and my takes on different things, and so that's what I've been doing. God tells us to pray. He tells us to encourage good, forbid evil, and to be patient. And change doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with our intention. I remember not too long ago, I was helping a friend out. I was working with a friend who owns his own business, and I was working with a group of guys, and I remember one of them saying, and my friend would come along with us on the jobs, and he would deal with customers. He would work a little bit, and I distinctly remember one of the other guys on the team saying, hey, such and such doesn't work at all. Talking about the boss, the owner of the company. He doesn't do anything. And I remember thinking, and he goes, hey, we do all the work and he gets most of the pay. And I remember thinking how, a lot of times in life, the people who provide the most value get the most rewards and get the most pay. And I remember thinking, he doesn't know how much work my friend put in to get everything set up, and I'm not just talking about that day, let alone that day, but, from the risk of, leaving his job to start his own company, right? Going from a worker to a company owner, right? That's a big deal. That's a big shift for a lot of people if it's not natural to you, if you don't come from a family of doing that. It's a big shift. And so the risk, the time investment, the money investment, he started as a one-man team. The negotiations, the haggling, the bartering that needed to be done, the acquiring the materials that were needed to start the business, right? To run the business, all the ups and downs, the hurdles, to get to this point where he can essentially, not do so much work and get all most of the pay, and he's a generous guy. He pays well. So I just wanted to get on here and make that point to you guys that, consumers who consume can't expect to get the rewards of someone who produces, right? Producers who produce. Somebody who eats Starburst, for example, the biggest Starburst fan out there, who eats the most Starburst, he can never expect to reap the rewards of the person who invented the company Starburst. Now, that's not the best example. Starburst is not really that good for you, but Starburst has provided a lot of value, perceived value, and value as well to a lot of people, whether it be for a comfort food, whether it be for the sugar that's in it, the flavors that made people happy, XYZ. People use it as gifts or, party snacks. How many piñatas have been filled with Starburst? You know what I mean? And, I always respect, once I made the shift myself from being a worker to starting my own business, I always, before that point, I developed a deep respect for those people who do run their own businesses. And I think it's well known that it's way more work, it's way more hours, and it's way more stress, it's way more headache, right? But, when it pays off, it pays off. When it pays off, it pays off. As it should. Working a 9-to-5 job, you go to work, the average person, you go to work, whatever, do your job, and then you go home and you think about something else. The overachieving worker, works a 9-to-5, goes home and thinks about the job, or even does overtime, or, plans stuff outside of the job, right? But the business owner who created that company, they lived, breathed, and slept that company. Sometimes for years and years, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, living, breathing, and sleeping that company that now has, several, many employees, to where, and some of them are even still living, breathing, and sleeping in the company. Some of them have time to do other stuff, right? Some of them pivot and the company kind of runs itself. And they deserve to reap the rewards for that initial investment that they put in. And I just wanted to get on here and talk about that point to you guys, because I think we're in a culture where, overconsumption is very prevalent. From the swiping on our phones, to the overeating, to the binge watching TV, to the excessive shopping, online shopping, right? To gambling, to drugs, alcohol, whatever. We're in a society where we consume. And the people who make that shift to produce are reaping big rewards. And why not us? Why not us? Providing more value, providing any value, and, getting reward back. Why should we just be consuming? Why can't we create media to entertain or inform? Why shouldn't we be making the clothes, designing clothes? Why shouldn't we be cooking food, mixing drinks for people to buy? Just look around in the world. Everything you see in the world today, it was manufactured by somebody. It started with an idea. Somebody said, I think the world will be better with this thing in it. A lot of the times, someone said, I think the world will be better with this thing in it. And so I'm going to try to make it. I'm going to try and find the people who can make it. I'm going to put a team together. And those people fuel the world, really. From the first car to the light bulb to the cell phone to the jacket that I'm wearing now, my hat, my hoodie, the houses, the cars. I think I already said cars. You know, the pots, the pans that we use. Everything was designed by somebody. It started with an idea. You know, and I think we're meant to create, even in the sense of having kids, starting a family. You know, that's creation too. There's many ways you could create. Making content, making videos. There's many ways you can create. I think that's our purpose here, is to create and not just consume. You know, it's okay to consume too, but there should be a balance. There's supposed to be a balance. I worked the 9-to-5 jobs for a few years, and I always felt like something was missing. And I always felt like I should be doing more, that I could be doing more. You know, and I would go to my job and I would work and I'd go home and I'd think about it. You know, this could be better, that could be better. I would think about ways to innovate and ways that things could be more efficient, more effective. And that was my inner desire to create coming out. You know, I couldn't keep it in. And, you know, when you work with people who are just used to consuming and just used to going with the flow and, you know, doing what's already been done, not doing anything new, it gets very stale. It gets very stale, especially when you don't have any other outlet for creativity, for being efficient, being effective, for producing value. And so I'm always looking for new ways to do that. And I think when we do that, when we start doing that more, we'll start reaping more rewards in the form of changing people's lives, in the form of making money, in the form of, you know, leaving behind a legacy. Hope you guys found some value in this. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.